Hey, what's up guys? So in this video we're going to be having a long talk about the new appraisal system. I'm going to be explaining IVs, what are IVs specifically, and how you can use Niantic's own little appraisal system in order to, judge how strong your Pokemon is in terms of IVs and how much damage it'll do.
So as you guys know, I'm Team Mystic, so I already know my appraisal system quite well. Now for other teams I'm not too sure, I haven't spent too much time, but I do have the layout right in front of me on my phone. So I'm going to check it out and explain this.
Appraisal system, you want to make sure that you're using it quite often, especially when you catch new Pokemon. So what's going to happen is when you use the appraisal system, it's right there on your screen. And you can check for an IV or like the range of IV that a Pokemon has, right, just by clicking it on the spot. So let's say I catch something, right, like a Magikarp or something, I can just check it on the spot, and if it doesn't have good IVs, I can just transfer it. Saves you Pokemon storage, it saves you times, and more importantly, it makes you a better Pokemon trainer. So you want to make sure you have that. Now, as we get along, I'm going to talk about, everything else that we see, but I don't even know where to go about it. So I'm just going to be brushing my teeth while we talk about this whole situation. And it's just not easy to do, So, yeah, here I am, brushing my teeth.
Now that that's over with, I want to talk about IVs in specific. So what do IVs stand for? Well, IVs are a short way of saying individual values. So each Pokemon is different from the other. Let's say like you have two Magikarps, right? Or let's make it 3 to make the example really easy. A 0% IV Magikarp will have 0 out of 15 additional attack, 0 out of 15 additional defense, and 0 out of 15 additional stamina, which is also its HP. So as you can see, you want a Magikarp that has high IVs, which means that it gets additional stats in accordance with other Magikarps. So let's say again with the example of like the 3 Magikarps, that your second Magikarp is 50% IV. So what that means is that its attack, if it's split accordingly of course, its attack will be about 7 or 8 out of 15. The defense will also be 7 or 8 out of 15. And lastly, your HP will also be 7 or 8 out of 15. That's what it means to be 50% IV. It means that you have half of those stats in all cases. Now, that's not going to happen all the time with each Magikarp. Some will have higher attack and lower defense and so on and so forth, but you get the gist of it. What I'm trying to explain is how these IVs matter in the long run. So then we have our third Magikarp with 100% IV. That's going to have 15 extra attack, 15 extra defense, and 15 extra HP. In line with all of the Magikarps. Let's say you have all 3 Magikarps at the same CP, 195. That's only its combat power. You also need to look at the health and the Stardust that it costs. And that tells you sort of the individual value. So there's a formula for it, and there's a couple sites that you can use to recognize what the IV of a certain Pokemon is. Now, the one I recommend personally is PokeAssistant.com. It's sort of like a fill-in method where you just type in the name of the Pokemon, you type in its CP, its HP, and the Stardust that it costs to power it up, and then it gives you a rough estimate or a range of the percentages. I'll have a link for PokeAssistant.com in the description. Make sure to check it out and make sure to start seeing what your Pokemon are all about. Now, I know a lot of people have already learned about IV, so this is sort of like a slow update, but I want to show you how you can use the appraisal system with the Poke Assistant to get a very accurate reading on your Pokemon. Now, before the method before was pretty much to use Poke Assistant to get a narrow range, and then see if you wanted to test it further, you would have to power up your Pokemon. That requires Stardust and Candy, both which are very valuable in this whole endgame. So combining your appraisal system with a Poke Assistant actually can eliminate the use for Stardust or Candies at all. And I'm going to show you how. Hi. Hey guys, so let's get into this IV business. So first up, I have an Ekans for you, and we're going to sort of see how to use the appraisal system and use Poke Assistant to get its exact IV. Now, as a Pokemon on its own, my Ekans is 447. I already checked its IV, and it's 82%. So I'm going to show you how I went about doing that and how to get the exact number. So first of all, we're going to have the appraisals right here. So when I click on this Ekans and sort of show you the appraisals, you can see what the gym leader says exactly. Now for Team Mystic, mine said, hey, what a breathtaking Pokemon. It's wonderful. And that pretty much means that it's going to be over an 80% IV Pokemon. So you can use these ranges to sort of see which ones are going to be good, which ones are going to be not. So for Team Mystic, our fellow players, it's going to say, what a breathtaking Pokemon, it's a wonderful Pokemon, along those lines. And that's really good to have. It tells you right away, hey, star this Pokemon, keep it in your files. Now for Team Valor, it's going to say, overall, your Pokemon simply amazes me, it can accomplish anything. Again, there's going to be a chart right here, and you guys can sort of see what the different sayings for each gym leader is. And lastly, Team Instinct is actually going to say, overall, your Pokemon looks like it can really battle with the best of them. Now, with accordance, you go to the next sort of stat that it has. And And then the gym leader will say something along the lines of, hey, its best attribute is this. And now remember the three attributes that we talked about where the IVs actually matter: attack, defense, and stamina. So this gym leader is saying that in my Ekans, the defense is the highest. Now, what that means is that when we get into Poke Assistant, and I'm going to show you all three of the readings, that the defense should have the highest number out of 15. Whether it's 14, 13, whatever the case is, it should be higher than the attack and the stamina. That's how you know that you've done it correctly and that's the right Pokemon to choose. Now, to go further on, your gym leader will next say exactly how strong is that strongest attribute of that Pokemon.
So here we have the Poke Assistant list for the Ekans that I was talking about. As you can see that it gives you a wide range from 75.6% to 84.4%. But how you can break this down is that we know that the Ekans actually has its defense as the best attribute. So if we look down the list right underneath it, we can see that, you know, it gives you all the levels of the Pokemon itself, its attack, defense, stamina, and the perfection IV. So in this case, we're looking for one that has the best defense. So we're going to go over to either the first one. We can cross out the second one because 12 is lower than 13, which is its attack. So that's not a possibility. The third one we can also cross out because, you know, it's 10 out of 10 against 14, and the defense is lower, so we can cross that out as well. Now, the fourth one actually also makes sense, and we're going to see how we can cross that out later. And the fifth and sixth don't make sense at all because the defense is much lower than the attack. So in that case, we've already narrowed it down to two options without using any Stardust or Candy. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to move on to the next step of the Ekans, and we're actually going to see that the professor, what he says about the best attribute of the Pokemon. Now, so for the Ekans, the professor actually said that I'm certainly impressed by its stats, and that pretty much means in terms of the Mystic appraisal system, it means that the stat, whatever he claimed it to be before, the best stat, that's going to be at least a 13 or 14 out of 15 on the IV scale. So on our Poke Assistant, we can now scroll down between the two options and we can see that the defense can possibly be 15. So that knocks out whatever possibility else it was, and it gives us the first one, which is 82.2%. Anyways, that's how you use the appraisal system to sort of put everything together. Use Poke Assistant and appraisal system together. But if you're out catching Pokemon, you don't have an access to a computer, you want to stay on the appraisal system and just get sort of like a feel for it. Again, if you're Valor, Instinct, or Mystic, the link is in the description. You guys can check it out. Use it as much as you can. You will get used to your team. You don't have to memorize all three of them. You just have to memorize the one that is corresponding to your team. I hope this video helps a lot. I know this is late, but the appraisal system is so important and I've been using it all along. Whenever we go out catch Pokemon, I appraisal first. Don't forget that your Pokemon storage also needs to be upgraded. If you're running out of Pokemon, you need to start transferring them based on this appraisal system. So keep using the charts. Check the appraisal system, and over time you'll just memorize it and you'll just be like, oh, this one's 50 to 60, this one's 70 to 80, and this one's 80 plus, and you'll just start, you know, having a lot more fun with Pokemon and making your Pokemon Go experience a lot better. Now, I do want to thank Niantic for listening to us and bringing in this appraisal system. When they took away Poke Advisor, they took away, they took away Pokevision, they took away so many sites from us, but now here's their way of giving something back to us. And I feel like Niantic is headed in the right direction. They just need to speed it up a little and start listening to the people more. Anyways, that concludes this video. Have a nice day.